and I've often people who criticize other people are not doing as much as the other person.
You know, there's then to be a constructive critic. You know, somebody is a soul winner and Christ and had 35 baptisms, you know, in a year. It would behoove me to. It gets your attention. You know, you wonder, you know, what's this person doing? But for somebody to complain about, you know, what we don't have or what our congregation is lacking, you know, you better have qualifications before you raise that. You know, if you're out serving and you're going out with us and ministering, visiting, and at the hospital, and if you're helping visit the needy, and we have some elderly people, and the funerals, and you know, meal preparation, things like that, then you have a little bit of credibility to consider that question. But if we're not involved, then it's just foolish. It's just, you know, we're like the guy in 1 Corinthians 13 who doesn't have love. It's just, we're just making noise. Let each one examine his own work, and then he will have what? What do you have there?
Reason for rejoicing in regard to himself alone, not in regard to another.
He will have reason for rejoicing in himself alone and not in another. You know, when you read Paul, he's always talking about boasting. Paul's always talking about boasting. And I looked up, and really it is bragging, but it really doesn't fit, because it's really the pride, a good pride, or a fulfillment, the contentment, the fulfillment, the joy, the satisfaction. If I were a translator, the word boasting, what do you have? Rejoicing. You know, you have a reason to rejoice. It's really the satisfaction that you have in your heart that you are bearing fruit. And if a person is bearing fruit, he's ministering and he's bearing fruit, he has that fulfillment and he has a peace that he's proving God. Wisdom, Jesus said wisdom is justified by the offspring, the fruits, or the children. Because our works beget things. They generate offspring. I looked up, you brood of vipers. You know, it's like a snake pit, and there's like a mama and a papa snake, and they got all those little viper kids, you know, and Jesus said it's a nest. You know, it's really not the nest, it's the brood. You know, there's all those little snakes. It's a family of snakes, and that's what he called them. You are poisonous snakes, and you got kids, and they're going to beget kids, and they're going to, you know, and your father is the devil, the serpent, you know, the father. You know, you're the brood of vipers. Well, who's the prototype? Who's the first viper? It would be Satan himself, the first serpent.
Just to add, that's a spiritual point. I think rejoicing is probably a better word, but Ekklesia has a point. This is talking about the physical producing and working. Ecclesiastes 2:24 says, "There is nothing better for a man than to eat and drink and tell himself that his labor is good. This also I have seen that is from the hand of God."
Okay.
So there's just the point of that satisfaction of working. But I think Galatians is spiritual work.
Okay. Thank you.
Seed you're going to reap.
So we have the premise and the conclusion. We have and that's the way we argue. You argue from even a parable. You start in the physical, and then you go to the spiritual. Paul said that which is first, you know, is physical. That which is spiritual is spiritual. Jesus said, if you don't believe earthly things, how will you believe heavenly? So we go, you know, you argue from, you know, earthly to heavenly, physical to spiritual, old covenant to new covenant. All right, so we have rejoicing in himself alone. Now let's go to the Corinthian situation. This was terrible. And these are things that prevent us from sharing our faith with others. So I don't want to get too negative. Let's do one more negative verse. 2 Corinthians 11, verse 12. 2 Corinthians 11:12. Now, I was studying, and I saw that there's this satirical website. And they talk about physical things, but they talk about religious things too. It was so funny. And what they use is satire. And one of our women, she's a good woman. I think she might be a single mom. I don't know. She's got a lot of children, and we know her from Little League, and she just was offended and said, we shouldn't make fun of people. All right. Somebody had the prices right, and they had all the women, the young ladies behind their bids, and it had Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, and she was on the prices right, but she couldn't win because everything they had to bid on, she had zero. She was bidding it's free. So all these women are like, come on down, and they're all, come on up, you get to play the price is right, and she's got a frown